Good morning, everyone. How are you? Biodiversity. So, welcome you all to this class. We'll be starting this new segment called biodiversity. So, it is a very important section. Why? Because of the number of questions. ಯಾವುದೇ subject important ಹೌದು ಅಲ್ವೋ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗೋದು when you see how many questions were asked in the previous years. Okay. So, biodiversity forms a very important part of both prelims and mains, and we'll be seeing all the questions which has been asked in the past 10-15 years, both in terms of prelims and mains. So I'm going to give you a lot of questions, PYQs, which you have to answer, and your actual answer writing practice for the mains starts with biodiversity, because I think ecology nalli I gave you around 2 questions. Okay, 2 or 3. How many questions? 5 questions. Yeah, 5 questions. Few from wetlands, few on one on carrying capacity. Yeah, solve those. But here there will be direct questions from the biodiversity, and also there will be some of the practice questions which I will be giving you. Right. So we'll start with biodiversity. What is the meaning of biodiversity? We'll start with this basic thing about the meaning and definition of biological diversity and its shortened form is simply biodiversity. What is the meaning of biodiversity? Bio, life, living. Diversity is varieties, disparities, differences. So if you look into the environment, if you look into the ecology, you will find difference among various organisms. Okay, the difference might be at various levels. We all sitting in the class, like myself, we all belong to same species. Okay, we are all Homo sapiens. Adbitache yararu idara? Is there someone who is outside Homo sapiens, belongs to category of monkeys? There will be some in the class. Okay, so they will start showing their actual instinct. Yes, they'll start showing their actual instinct after 3 to 4 courses. Starting early, everybody will be like very mild, very silent, tumba decent, atara. But 2-3 course admele you will get acclimatized with the environment, and they will start showing their actual behavior. Anyways, so basically we all are of same species, but we all are different at the genetic level. Our fingerprints won't match. If we extract each of our DNA from our cells and compare them, we all are different. We all have different DNA structures. We have different genetic makeup. So we are different at genetic level. And if we compare ourselves with monkeys, we are different at species level. They belong to different species. Cat and dog are different. Lion and tiger are different. Okay, so they may be of same genera, but they are of different species. Okay, So that is the difference. No, we look different from other species, right? We are different from horse, we are different from elephant, we are different from tigers, we are different from dogs, cats. We all belong to different species and different genus. So there can be difference at species level, and also there can be difference from one ecosystem to another ecosystem. The organisms in aquatic ecosystem has a different kind of setup or different kind of structure and function as compared to the organisms in terrestrial ecosystems. The species in forest ecosystem is different from species or the animals or plants living in grassland ecosystems. So there is difference at ecosystem level as well. That difference, when you study among the living organisms, the difference or disparity or variation or variety is what is called as biodiversity. Okay, so biodiversity is basically the variety among various organisms at genetic, species and ecosystem level. All right, that is the thing. Now, when you say that biodiversity is at genetic level within a species, let us take human beings. Why do we are different? What makes us different? In fact, you are different from your parents. You have come from their cell. You have come from the egg cell of your mother and the sperm cell of your father. When they are fused together, that is when a zygote or a baby is formed, which grows into an individual organism, individual human. But even though we have got half the DNA or half the chromosomes from the father, half the chromosome from mother, we don't exactly look like them. There is a variation or there is a difference even from one generation to another generation within the same species. The genetic diversity is so intense, so different, that every individual has their own DNA structures, okay, DNA makeup. Why is it? Why do we don't exactly resemble our parents when we have their same genes or when we carry their own DNA? What is the reason? It is a little depth concept which we will be discussing in biology when we study cell. We'll study cell, we'll study cell division, we'll study what are the structures and different components of cells. In that we'll study nucleus, we'll study DNA, and while studying cell division, cell divide agಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ how the DNA undergoes changes, how the chromosomes undergoes changes, ಅದನ್ನು ಓದ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. There you will understand. But now, just to study biodiversity, I'm giving you a very small overview of what happens, why are we different from our parents. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ, what makes the difference? The answer for that is during meiosis. Meiosis is a cell division which happens when the cell has to undergo reproduction. Okay, so ಎರಡು ತರ ಸೆಲ್ ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೆಲ್ ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಸೆಲ್ ಎರಡು ಆಗೋದು, 2 4 ಆಗೋದು, 4 8 ಆಗೋದು. ವಿ ಆಲ್ ಇನಿಷಿಯಲಿ ವೇರ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಅಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಒನ್ ಸೆಲ್. ಅದು ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಆಗಿ 2 ಆಯಿತು, 4 ಆಯಿತು, 8 16 ಥರ ಹಾಕಿ ನಾವು ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ millions of cells in our body. How did growth and development happen? ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟು kg ಇರ್ಬೋದು? 2.5 3 kg. Now whatever the kgs we are having, how did we came to this size? How did we become grown up? Cell division. Cells divided. Cells divide ಆದಂಗೆ the organs started becoming enlarged, okay, started increasing in size. So the growth and development happens because of cell division, and there is one type of cell division which is responsible for growth and development of body. Those are called as The cells which are involved in growth and development are called as somatic cells, and that division is called as mitosis. A division of mitosis. Whenever an organism wants to reproduce, then there is one more type of division called as meiosis. A meiosis alli there is one step where the chromosomes get shuffled. A chromosome ಮೇಲೆ ಇರೋ DNA ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು shuffling ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, exchange ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, structure change ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. That is called as chiasmata. Okay, so the word which we use is chiasmata or crossing over. ಈ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ತರ ಒಂದು ಕ್ರೋಮೋಸೋಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಈ ತರ ಕ್ರೋಮೋಸೋಮ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, which will be its homogeneous chromosomes. ಈ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಆ ಸೆಲ್ಲು ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂಡ್ the baby is born. And because of this chiasmata or crossing over which happens in the meiosis cell division, we are different from our parents. ಎಷ್ಟು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ ನಾವು ಅಷ್ಟು ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕಾಣ್ತೀವಿ. ಕೆಲವು ಸರಿ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಯು ಫೀಲ್ ದಟ್ ಓಕೆ ಅಕ್ಕ ಇವ್ರ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸರಿ ಇವ್ರದೇನಾ, okay sorry I did not mean that, but yeah there will be too much different, but sometimes kids resemble parents so much. Let me give an example. Saif Ali Khan and maga Sarah is maglo Ibrahim, see Ibrahim Ali Khan and Saif Ali Khan ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಬಹಳ ಕಮ್ಮಿ. ಸೊ chiasmata ತುಂಬಾ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. The shuffling of information has been very less. ಹಿಂದಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸೂರ್ಯವಂಶಂ ಅಂತ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ ಇದೆ, ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ಅಮಿತಾಬ್ ಬಚ್ಚನ್, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದಾಯ್ತು, ಸೂರ್ಯವಂಶ. ವಿಷ್ಣುವರ್ಧನ್ ಮಗ ವಿಷ್ಣುವರ್ಧನ್, ಗಡ್ಡ ಮೀಸೆ ಎಣಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಅಪ್ಪ, ಅದು ಮೀಸೆ ತೆಗೆದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಮೀಸೆ ಇಟ್ರೆ ಮಗ, ಮೀಸೆ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗಿ ಇಟ್ರೆ ಅಪ್ಪ. ಓಕೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ when chiasmata doesn't happen, ಅಕಸ್ಮಾತ್ chiasmata ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವಿಷ್ಣುವರ್ಧನ್ ಮಗ ವಿಷ್ಣುವರ್ಧನೇ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಬಟ್ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಇಟ್ won't happen, right? So that is because of chiasmata, okay, which happens. So that is the reason why there is variation among species. Sexual reproduction ಆದಾಗ ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ there will be difference. That is called as variation. But variation doesn't happen completely. ಕೆಲವು characteristics parents ಇಂದ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. That is called as heredity. ಈ heredity ಮತ್ತೆ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಜೆನೆಟಿಕ್ಸ್. ದಟ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಜೆನೆಟಿಕಲ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವೇರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಇರೋದು ಕಾಮನ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಫಿನಾಮಿನಾ ವಿಚ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಸೆಲ್ ಡಿವಿಷನ್. ನಾವು ಸೆಲ್ ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಓದಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ವಿಲ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಿಲ್ ರಿಕಾಲ್ ದಿಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಐಲ್ ರಿಮೈಂಡ್ ಯು ಆಫ್ the fact that we have studied this. Okay, genetic. Species level only, because the entire number of chromosomes, structure of chromosomes, everything will be different from one species to another, so there will be difference in species level. Ecosystem variation is because of the environmental conditions as well as evolutionary adaptation. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತ ಆರ್ಗಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ವೈವ್ ಆಗಿರೋ ಆರ್ಗಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ they would have evolutionary adapted to that situation and developed some characters and lost some characters. Okay, so that is the three types of variation, right? Okay, write down this small introduction on what is biodiversity, meaning and definition. Biodiversity is a short form of biological diversity. biological diversity. It is the variation among living organisms. It is the variation among living organisms from different sources. From different sources. Stop. It is all the different kinds of life. It is all the different kinds of life you will find in an area which makes up our natural world. Which makes up our natural world. Okay. A simple question. World Biodiversity Day is observed on, who says A? B? C? D? Okay. D? B na? ನೋಡಿದ್ರಾ? ನೋಡ್ಲಿಲ್ವಾ? Observational skills. Okay. ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಯಾರು ನೋಡಿದ್ರಿ? ಹೂ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್. ಬಟ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಡಿ ಮತ್ತೆ? ಹಂಗೆ. ಓಕೆ. ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಲೇಟಾಗಿ ನೋಡಿಲ್ಲ. Okay, otherwise you would have said. Anyways, so remember it is on 22nd May. So World Biodiversity Day. Okay, levels of biodiversity. Levels of biodiversity, we also call it as components of biodiversity. Levels of biodiversity or components of biodiversity. So biodiversity can be studied at 3 levels. As I said, it can be studied at genetic level, species level, and ecosystem level. And within species level, there can be again alpha diversity, then beta diversity, and gamma diversity. Okay, so what is the diversity at genetic level? Genetic biodiversity, it is the variation within the species. Within the species, the variation between one organism to another organism is called as genetic level of diversity. Okay, so it is basically the variety of genes within a species. So when you say the variety of within a species, what do you mean by this? What is a gene? What do you understand by the term gene? Huh? Gene is information. Gene is a information of an individual. Kiran is a gene. Kiran is your name, and that is a information about you. Can Kiran be a gene? No biological information. Where does gene present? DNA ಒಳಗಿರುತ್ತಾ? DNA ಮೇಲಿರುತ್ತಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ DNA gene? What is gene? Gene ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಕೇಳಿರಬಹುದು. Because of gene. ಎಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ ಏನು gene ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, correct? You are absolutely right. It is responsible for every character. ನಮ್ದು ಏನೇನು height ಇದೆ, hair color, skin color, eye shape, every character is because of the gene. But what is this gene? It is a cell. Inside the cell, yelli. Okay, that gene is not relevant. It's irrelevant. It's relevant only in a particular disease called as mitochondrial diseases. 3-parent baby anta ondu news alli ide iga. That news is regarding that mitochondrial disease. We will study that in biotechnology. It's one of the biotechnological advances, using biotechnology curing the abnormalities like stem cell therapy, like gene therapy. It is also one kind of manipulation in the genes to cure a disease. So basically every one of us has a cell, and that cell has nucleus. A nucleus ಒಳಗಡೆ chromosomes are. That chromosome basically is made up of, if you say, this is how a chromosome is present. Itara namma cell ಒಳಗಡೆ there will be 23 pairs, 46 chromosomes ಗಳಿರ್ತವೆ. Every cell has 46 chromosomes, 23 and that exact replica of that 23. So we call it as 2n. 2 into n is number of chromosomes. ಎಷ್ಟು number of chromosomes ಇದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ? 23. 23 plus 23, 46 chromosomes ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಸೆಲ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ, ಸೆಲ್ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ. ನಾವೀಗ ಮೊಬೈಲಲ್ಲಿ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ನ ಝೂಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಪಿಂಚ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆ ಥರ ಝೂಮ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ this is made up of a super coiled dense structure. ಇದನ್ನ ಮತ್ತೆ ಪಿಂಚ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ you will find this is basically a DNA. Okay, a DNA ಮೇಲೆ ಕೆಲವು chemicals ಇರ್ತವೆ. That chemicals we have given the names: adenine, guanine, thymine, uracil, cytosine. DNA ಮೇಲೆ A, T, okay, G, C. ಈ ತರ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಗಳು ಇರ್ತವೆ. Okay, this chemicals will be present. The sequence of that chemicals, the arrangement of the chemicals is what is called as genome. Genome sequence. ಆ ಸೀಕ್ವೆನ್ಸು ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರಲ್ಲೂ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. Everybody's sequence will be different from each other. That is the variation. That's what we study, variation in the gene, genetic level. Gene ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ a part of this DNA is called as a gene. Gene is basically a small part of DNA. And ಈ DNA ಮೇಲಿರೋ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, A, G, C, T, C, T, G, A, ಏನೇನೋ, that information, specific information will produce specific proteins in the cell. ಆ ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ಸ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ನ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೂದಲು, ತಲೆ ಕೂದಲು ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ there is a protein responsible for black color of the hair which is produced in our cell, and that is produced because ಆ ಕಲರ್ ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ನು ಆ ಜೀನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. If somebody has blonde hair, then they have a gene which produces a protein and that protein will give blonde color to the hairs. Now blonde color alliro aa gene anna tegedu black hair irovrige hakadre enagutte, obviously we will start getting blonde hairs, because whatever the protein produces, that will control the character. Nama pratiyondu character guno that will be controlled by the protein, and that protein is produced exactly according to the genes present on the DNA. Okay, one or multiple genes. There are some characters which are controlled by multiple genes. Okay, polygenic traits and that's all genetics. But each genetic variability is individual of a same species will have difference in their gene structure. Okay, that's why each and every one of our characters are different. Okay, so character andre not your behavior. Behaviorally it is not controlled by genes. There are some behaviors which are controlled by environment. Police maga kalla agalva, where is the gene? Huh? So kallra maklu police actor kilo sari, right? So some characters are environmental controlled, they are not by genes. Okay, so that is what is genetic level diversity. Okay, so difference within species to species is called as species diversity, and otherly if there is difference within a community, ಒಂದೇ community ಒಳಗಡೆ if there is difference in organisms, different species, there are so many species which are present within a community, that is called as alpha diversity. What is community? Group of organisms which belong to different species. Andre ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಲ್ಲ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ತರದ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಗಳಿದಾವೆ, that is what gives alpha diversity. If we combine the species diversity among two communities, if there is a species diversity among two communities, then that is called as beta diversity. Okay, and if the biodiversity is studied at a very large scale across various ecosystems, across a very large area, then that is called as gamma diversity. Gamma diversity is the difference or variation among the species over a large area. When you compare the difference in species of two different communities, that is beta. Within a community is alpha. Okay, na? This is what is the components or the levels of biodiversity, studying biodiversity. So write down this component of biodiversity. There are three components or three levels: genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. Genetic diversity, it is the variety of genes within a species. Variety of genes within a species. Species diversity, it is the variety of species within a habitat or a region. Then ecosystem diversity, ecosystem. It is the variety of habitats, communities, biotic communities, and their changes in structure and composition, over time. Then species diversity more ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Alpha, beta and gamma. Alpha. Alpha brother, it describes the alpha biodiversity. Write down. Where it describes the species diversity within a community. Within a community. Okay. Then beta diversity. Beta diversity describes the species diversity. Describes the species diversity between two communities or ecosystem. Between two communities or ecosystems. Gamma diversity, you know, it is a species diversity compared between species diversity compared between many ecosystems. Many ecosystems. Okay, na? Alpha, beta, gamma are the part of species diversity. Note, illi, if you take all rats, each and every rat will have different genome, genetics, different DNA. Then within an ecosystem, there are like mice, plants, okay, frogs, so many other things. This is species biodiversity. From one ecosystem to another ecosystem, there is ecosystem biodiversity. Yeah. So genetic, species, and ecosystem. Now, if you count within species, if it is between the within the community, it's called alpha. Among the communities, it's called beta, and across the ecosystem is ecosystem diversity. Yeah. So this is what it is. So the state problems question. Simply they can even ask a definition. The variety and variability of life among animals, plants, and microorganisms is called as, who says B? C? D? It is biodiversity. It is a variety of species, variation among species, or variability among organisms, plants, and microorganisms. That's what it is. ಆ ನಾಲ್ಕನ್ನ ನೋಡಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಿ. We have 4 options: virus, insects, plants and animals. Choose the right answer. ಯಾವ್ದು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ, ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಇಂದ ಕಮ್ಮಿವರೆಗೂ. ಓಕೆ, so what is the answer? Who says A? 4231. Animals, insects, plants and virus. B? Anyone? C? D? Insects, plants, animals, virus. What about others? Gotilva. The right answer is this. Okay, so it is sorry, D. The right answer is this one. So we have highest number of insect species which has been identified, 7,40,000. Then we have plants, around 3 lakh, 2,80,000 animals, and virus is the least. We have only identified around 1,100 species of virus, 1,101, coronavirus included. was a species. Okay, so this is the thing. You should know the breakup of biodiversity. It is estimated that there are around 8.7 million species which is present on this planet. On the earth, it is estimated, estimate ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ನೂ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರಬಹುದು. We don't know much about the world. ಏನೇ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು we know only about this much. There is so many things which we haven't explored. Other according to the whatever the knowledge we are having, we have around 8.7 million. Otherly 6.5 million species are on land and 2.2 million species are in water. So aquatic ecosystems or oceans contains around 2.2 million species, and land only we have 6.5 million species. Adrallu we are able to identify and name and classify only around 1.7 million species. Only 1.7. Additionally, insects forms, we have known around 7,40,000 species of insects, highest diversity. Second is plants, 2,90,000 species. Okay. Third is animals, 2,80,000. Algae is also a plant basically. So algae separate ಆಗ್ತಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 23,000 species of algae are known. Okay. Fungus, we have 66,000 fungus. Then we have 30,000 species of protozoas. Okay, they are unicellular eukaryotes. ಒಂದೇ ಸೆಲ್ ಇರೋದು, but they are eukaryotes. They have nucleus. Then 4,600 species of bacteria and 1,100 species of virus. This sequence important. You don't have to remember the numbers, but a sequence order ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ. ಬರೋಣ ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸರಿ. Shall we write? Which is the highest? Insects, followed by plants. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟಾಕಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿ, ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವು ಇದಾವೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಕ್ವಶನ್ ವೈರಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬೇರೆದೇನಾದ್ರು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ದೆನ್ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್. ಓಕೆ, ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಹೈಯೆಸ್ಟ್? ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಫಂಗಸ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರೋಟೋಜೋವಾ, ಆಮೇಲೆ then bacteria and this is the order. Protozoa ಅಂದ್ರೇನು? Where have you heard about protozoa? ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ protozoa ಬಗ್ಗೆ? ಅಚ್ಚಾ, what causes malaria? ಮಲೇರಿಯಾ ಕಾಸ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಆರ್ಗಾನಿಸಮ್ ಮಲೇರಿಯಾ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರಾ? ಡೋಂಟ್ ಸೇ ಮಸ್ಕಿಟೋ. Mosquito is just a carrier, vector. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಮಲೇರಿಯಾ? ಬಂದಿದೆ ಯಾರಿಗಾರು? ಅಕ್ಕಪಕ್ಕದವ್ರಿಗೇನೋ ಬಂದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಮನೇಲಿ ಯಾರಿಗಾರು? Don't insult India, okay? we are the Africa bitter next highest malaria cases ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರನೇ ಇರೋದು ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. ಮಲೇರಿಯಾಗೆ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಬೂಮ್. ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್ ಬರೀ ಮಲೇರಿಯಾ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ಸ್. Malaria is one of the biggest thing. There is a campaigns going on eradicating malaria by 2027-28. What causes malaria? ಯಾರು ಬಂದಿರೋರು ಗೊತ್ತಾ? ಯಾರಿಗಾರು ಬಂದಿದ್ಯಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇರೋರು, ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ, ಅಕ್ಕಪಕ್ಕ ಊರು, ಒಂದೇ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ? ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನದಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರಾ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ? So malaria is caused by a causal organism called protozoa. Okay, Plasmodium vivax anta kelidra, and it is carried to humans by mosquito. ಏನಾದ್ರು ಹೆಸರು? ಅಲ್ಲ, ತಪ್ಪು. Aedes carries different type of organism, virus. Malaria is caused by Anopheles, female Anopheles. It's only female mosquito that bites. Okay, male mosquitoes vegetarians. Females are blood sucking non-vegetarians. Female mosquitoes. Okay, so it's only female mosquito which carries, and it's not that female the mosquitoes are safe. ಈ ಆರ್ಗಾನಿಸಮ್ಗೆ ಮಲೇರಿಯಾ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಇನ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಟು ಫುಲ್ಫಿಲ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಸೈಕಲ್, ಇಟ್ ನೀಡ್ 2 hosts. It causes malaria in humans. It also causes malaria in the mosquitoes as well. ಮಸ್ಕಿಟೋಗೂ ಮಲೇರಿಯಾ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಅದು ಪಾಪ ಅವು ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು? ಮೇ ಬಿ ಇಫ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎನಿ study which is in a school going on for mosquitoes, and if the teacher mosquito is teaching the student mosquitoes, they'll be teaching, we get malaria from humans, and that's true. ಒಂದು ಹೆಲ್ದಿ ಮಸ್ಕಿಟೋಗೆ ಪಾಪ ಏನೋ ಅದು ಬಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಕುಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗೋಣ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬೈಟ್ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ malaria infected person. That person will infect the mosquito. Healthy mosquito becomes malaria infected. Then when it goes and bites another this thing, then it gets spread. It will need when you talk about diseases, biology, there is one big chapter called human diseases. Ali now we will be studying about what happens during malaria. What symptoms in malaria? Chillness. Okay. Chillness, fever, vomiting. Okay, less appetite. So many things are there. There is a question which has been asked that ನಮ್ಮ RBC rupture ಆದಾಗ what chemicals is released? Okay. So what is released when the RBCs explode? So the chemical which is released basically is called hemozoin. That question was there in one of the state prelims. Hemozoid, hemoglobin, ಏನನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು. So when the red blood cells explode, they'll release hemozoin. That is the reason for chillness and fever. 3 ದಿನ ಇರುತ್ತೆ 3 ದಿನ ಇರಲ್ಲ ಆ ಥರ. So protozoans are important. So they're the next, and then finally algae and bacteria. Algae cannot be included in the plants. Adrallu chlorophyll iruttala, that's the thing. So have you written this? Mugita? That is the broad biodiversity in the thing. Did you write the starting heading on ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ? It is estimated that there are 8.7 million species on the earth. There are around 8.7 million species on earth. This includes 6.5 million species on land and 2.2 million species in the ocean or water. See, when you say diversity, it by default we always mean it is species diversity. Because genetic diversity ಹುಡುಗಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು DNA ತಗೊಂಡು ಸೀಕ್ವೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ನೋಡಬೇಕು ಏನು ಅಂತ, they have to compare, and that's a very tedious process. Genetic diversity. Ecosystem diversity, there are so many confusions that one organism may be in 2 different ecosystems. There is a concept of edge effect. Okay, so ecological equivalents. So there are so many things which becomes very difficult to study when you study the biodiversity at ecosystem level. The best level to study ecosystem is species level. Okay. Biodiversity is mostly expressed in terms of species diversity. Biodiversity is mostly expressed in terms of species diversity. So far, about 1.75 million species out of it 1.75 million species have been identified and described. 1.75 million species have been identified and described. ಇದಾಯ್ತಾ ಸೀಕ್ವೆನ್ಸು ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರ? ಓಕೆನಾ? ಡನ್. ಬರ್ರಿ, ಯು ಆರ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್, ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಸೀಕ್ವೆನ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಓಕೆನಾ? Write down these questions. Then I want you to answer. Take down this question. Yeah. Either you take it continuously or write it at the last page or any one page where all the question will be on one side, but make sure that you answer and include this. Question ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Geeta, have you taken? ಏನಿದೆ question? Understanding biodiversity by different species, which we are actually doing. We are actually trying to understand biodiversity by different species. Helps us to identify life process, evolution, and ecological interactions. Right? So that is a statement. That's not a question. Question should agadu explain different levels at which biodiversity is studied and discuss the values that biodiversity adds up to the human life. First part ನೀವು ಬರೀತೀರಾ? Different levels at biodiversity studied. ಯಾವ levels? Genetic, species and ecosystem level. Within species, alpha, beta and gamma level. Second, what is the value that biodiversity adds up to human life? ಏನೇನು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ? What do we get from biodiversity? ಏನೇನು ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? That we'll discuss. The value of biodiversity. ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Yeah. So value of biodiversity, we can, there are two ways of discussing. One, we can discuss under different headings: ecological, economical, social, cultural, scientific, and so on. One heading alone, what are the ecological benefits biodiversity is giving, economical benefits, social benefits, cultural benefits, which you try to do. I'll give you straight away different values. Okay. So first and foremost is biodiversity provides us provision of ಯಾವ್ದಾಗ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಬರಿಬೇಕಾದ್ರು ನೀವು ಯಾವಾಗಲಾದ್ರು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರಿಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಕಮ್ ಅಕ್ರಾಸ್ ದ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ನೇಚರಿಂದ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನೇನು ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಸೇ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಇನ್ ಅನ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ವಾಟ್ ಡು ಯು ಗೆಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್. In some other situation you might get a question, what do we study from, what do we get from environment, what is the benefit coming from ecology, what are we getting from nature. ಈ ಥರ ಯಾವುದೇ ಥರದ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಬಂದ್ರೂ ನೇಚರ್ ಅಂತ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ವಿತ್ 5 F's. ಏನೇನು 5 F's? ಫುಡ್, ಫೀಡ್, fodder, fuel, fiber. It's a very important common pointer which you can use everywhere. Forest in the ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೂ we'll get 5 F's. Biodiversity in the ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ 5 F's. Nature in the ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ 5 F's. Food ಅಂದ್ರೆ won't biodiversity give food for us? Hybrids ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ? Because we have diversity, we are able to cross between two different varieties, do different wild or distant varieties of species and produce hybrids. Hybrid production ge we need diversity at genetic level. Because there is diversity, there is so much of menu on the hotel card. ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಎದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಚಿತ್ರಾನ್ನ, ಅವಲಕ್ಕಿ, ಪುಲಾವ್ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ರೈಸ್ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ ಒಂದೇ ಐಟಮ್, ರಾಗಿ ರೊಟ್ಟಿ, ಓಕೆ, ಮುದ್ದೆ, ಪ್ಲೇಟಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದೆಲ್ಲ ವೆರೈಟಿ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ತರಕಾರಿಗಳು, ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸಲಾಡ್ಸ್, ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ರೈಸ್, ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ತರಕಾರಿ ಸಾರು, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಥರದ್ದು, ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ವೆರೈಟಿ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದರ್ ಈಸ್ ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದಿದ್ರೆ ಬರೀ ಅನ್ನ ಬೇಯಿಸ್ಕೊ, ಅನ್ನ ತಿನ್ನೋ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಸಾಂಬಾರು ಇರ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಚಪಾತಿ ಗಿಪಾತಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮರ್ತ್ಕೋಬೇಕಿತ್ತು. ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಓನ್ಲಿ ಒನ್ ಸೀರಿಯಲ್, ನೋ ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ, ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್. ಸೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಎಷ್ಟು ಥರ ಇದೆ? ನವಧಾನ್ಯಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ, ಅಕ್ಕಿ, ರಾಗಿ, ನವಣೆ, ಜೋಳ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸಜ್ಜೆ ಏನೇನೋ ಇರ್ತಾವಲ್ಲ, ಕೇಳಿದಿರಾ? ನವಧಾನ್ಯಾಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದಿರ್ ಇಸ್ ಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ವಿದಿನ್ ಸೀರಿಯಲ್ ಇಟ್ಸೆಲ್ಫ್. ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಸೋ ಮೆನಿ ಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟೀಸ್. ವೆಜಿಟೇಬಲ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಥರ ಇದೆ, ತರಕಾರಿ ಹಂಡಿಗಳು ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ ನಿಮಗೆ. ಸೊಪ್ಪು, ಸದೆ, cauliflower, brinjal, lady's finger, so many varieties. That is why biodiversity. Because of biodiversity, you have different varieties of food. We get cereals, pulses, oil seeds, fruits, vegetables. What is feed? Feed ಅಂದ್ರೆ what is fodder? What is the difference between feed and fodder? What is the difference between feed and fodder? See, both of them are fed to the animals. Feed ಅಂದರೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಹುಲ್ಲು, ಆಲ್ಫಾಲ್ಫಾ, ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸ್ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಫೀಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಫಾಡರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ವಿ ಮೇಕ್ ದೆಮ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಕಾಂಪೊನೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಈಗ ನೀಮ್ನ ನಾವು ಬೇವಿನ ಕಾಯಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಫೀಡ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಹಸುಗಳು ತಿನ್ನಲ್ಲ. ಅದರಿಂದ ನೀಮ್ ಕೇಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ತಿನ್ನಿಸ್ಬೋದು. ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ವೆರೈಟಿಗಳು ಮಾಡಿ, ಏನು ಭೂಸ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಫೀಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ we'll call it as feed. Grasses are feed. Fodder is processed. Okay, so because of biodiversity we have different grasses, we have different materials which are added to make fodder. Fuel andre ade energy. Fuel andre heng sigutte? Biodiversity, how does it give fuel? How does it give fuel? Wood. So there are different varieties of trees which gives us various amount of fuel. ಈಗಲೂ ನಾವು ಹಳ್ಳಿ ಕಡೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಜನಗಳು ಗ್ಯಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡುಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಫ್ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಲಾಂಚ್ಡ್ ಅ ವಂಡರ್ಫುಲ್ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್. ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಉಜ್ವಲ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಇದೆ. ಉಜ್ವಲನ ಯಾವುದದು? ಉಜ್ವಲ ಫ್ರೀ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್, 50% ಆಫ್ ಆನ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಸಬ್ಸಿಡಿ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿ ಸ್ಟವ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗಲ್ಲಿ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರತಿ ಸರಿ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಸಿಲಿಂಡರ್ಗೆ ಸಬ್ಸಿಡಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ DBT, ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್? ಹಳ್ಳಿಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರಾ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ನ? ಇವಾಗ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸಿಟಿಯವರು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಹಳ್ಳಿಯವ್ರು ಬಿಟ್ಟಾಕಿ. ನೀವು ಗ್ಯಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಗೀಸರ್ ಹಾಕ್ಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾಡೋದೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾಲ ಹೊಟ್ಟೋಯ್ತು. ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ದಟ್ ಅಫೋರ್ಡೆಬಲ್. I have seen it live, and then I'll give an example. I have gone to various places. ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ I have seen it in Karnataka and also in Madhya Pradesh. ಕೆಲವು ಮನೆಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಇದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಗ್ಯಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮೂಲೆಗೆ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸ್ಟವ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಎತ್ತಿಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈಗಲೂ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಲೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡುಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಕಾಯಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು. ಸೊ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ಯೂರಿಯಾಸಿಟಿ I asked. I was in a very remote forest village in Madhya Pradesh, Khandwa district ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಸಿಲಿಂಡರ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಬಟ್ ರೋಟಿ ಗಿಟಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ಒಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ನಾನು ಕೇಳಿದೆ, ಏನು ವೈ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ಯು ಫೆಸಿಲಿಟೀಸ್, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಗೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ, ಏನಿಲ್ಲ, ಯು ಆರ್ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್ as ಯು ಆರ್ ಹಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಯುವರ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್. ಈಗ ಹೊಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕುಡಿಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಅಪ್ಸೆಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ವೈ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಯು ಯೂಸ್ ಇಟ್? ಯಾಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ? ಟೇಸ್ಟ್ ಏನಾರು? ಟೇಸ್ಟ್ ಗೀಸ್ಟ್ ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್. ನಮಗೆ ಹೂ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಡೂ ಇಟ್? ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಲೆ ಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಡೈಲಿ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಬರ್ಬೇಕು. ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾಫ್ ತುಂಬ ತೊಂದರೆಗಳು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ ದಟ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಫೈಲ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದೆಮ್, ಪನಿಷ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ಪೆನಾಲ್ಟೀಸ್, ಕದ್ದು ಮುಚ್ಚಿ ತರಬೇಕದು. ಬಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ದೇ ಡೂ ಇಟ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೇ ಸೆಡ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ 25 ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ದಿನಕ್ಕೆ 120 ರೋಟಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ನಾವು, 3 ದಿನಕ್ಕೆ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಖಾಲಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಏನು ಮಾಡೋದು? ಆಯಿತು, 50% DBT ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, 3 ದಿನಕ್ಕೂ ಅವರು ಎಷ್ಟಿಗೆ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್? ಒಂದು 1000 ರೂಪಾಯಿನಾ? 1100? ಹಾಂ, 900, 450 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. 50% ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟು. ಪ್ರತಿ 3 ದಿನಕ್ಕೂ 450 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ದೇ ಅಫೋರ್ಡ್? ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟಿ. ತುಂಬ ಜನ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ದೇ ಕೆನಾಟ್ ಅಫೋರ್ಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಮನಿ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ ಇದೆ, ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ 2 ಸಿಲಿಂಡರ್ಸ್. 6 ದಿನ ಗ್ಯಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಉಳಿದಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಒಟ್ಟು ಹಂಗೆ ಎಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತಾ? ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಟ್ರೂತ್. ನಾನು ಸುಳ್ಳು ಹೇಳ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಬಿಕಮ್ ಬ್ಯೂರೋಕ್ರಾಟ್ಸ್, ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಗೋ ದಟ್ ಡೀಪ್. ಅಷ್ಟು ಡೀಪ್ ಹೋಗಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ದ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಚೇಂಜ್, ದ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಆಲ್ಟರ್ಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಪರ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟ. ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ? ಇಬ್ಬರಾದರೆ ಓಕೆ, 1 ತಿಂಗಳು 2 ತಿಂಗಳು ಬರುತ್ತೆ. 20 ಜನ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಮನೆ ಅಂತಲೇ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ದೇರ್ ಜಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ. ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? ರೈಟ್? ಅದು ಟೇಸ್ಟಿಗೆ. ಅದ ಮೇಲೆ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಒಲೆ ಅಡುಗೆ ಊಟ ಅಂತ ಹಾಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೇ ಸೇ ದಟ್ ಒಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡುಗೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ದೇ ಗೆಟ್ ಅ ವೆರಿ ಫ್ಲೇಮಿ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಫ್ರಾಗ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಲ್. ಟೇಸ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಟು ಡೂ ವಿತ್ ಸ್ಮೆಲ್, ಯು ನೋ ದಟ್, ರೈಟ್? ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಟೇಸ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನೀವು ಏನೇ ತಿನ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಮೂಗನ್ನು ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತೀನಿ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಟೇಸ್ಟ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಕೆನಾಟ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಔಟ್ ದಟ್ ಮಚ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೇಸ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ಲೆಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ spicy, because spicy is not a taste. In biology, when you study human physiology, okay, so you study about different systems. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಡೈಜೆಸ್ಟಿವ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ತುಂಬ ಈ ಥರ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗಳು ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ದ ಡೈಜೆಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಫುಡ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ? ಮೌತಾ, ಬಕಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾವಿಟಿನ, ಈಸೋಫೆಗಸ, ಸ್ಟೊಮಕ್ಕ, ಇಂಟೆಸ್ಟೈನ್, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಇಂಟೆಸ್ಟೈನ್, ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಇಂಟೆಸ್ಟೈನ್, ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಅದೇ ಸೀಕ್ವೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಪಾತ್. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಡೈಜೆಷನ್ ಶುರು ಆಗುತ್ತೆ? ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ಮೌತ್. ಮೌತಲ್ಲಿ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್, ಬಕಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾವಿಟಿ, ಟೀತ್, ಟಂಗಲ್ಲಿ ಟೇಸ್ಟ್ ಬಡ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಇವನ್ ಆಸ್ಕ್ಡ್ ದ ಕ್ವಶನ್, ವಿಚ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫಾಲೋಯಿಂಗ್ tastes the taste buds can identify. Okay, so spicy is not a taste. What is spicy? It is a sensation of burning. Okay, so spiciness is not a taste, hotness is not a taste. Okay, so that ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, is it a taste? So ಈ ಥರ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗಳು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ವೆರಿ ಕಾಮನ್ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್. ಡೈಲಿ ನೀವು ಮಾಡೋ ಡೈಲಿ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿನೇ ಅದು. ದೇ ಆಸ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದೋಸ್, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ಫ್ಯೂಯಲ್ ಈಸ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್. 60% ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಯೂಸಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಫ್ಯೂಯಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ಬರ್ನಿಂಗ್, ಕುಕಿಂಗ್, ಬಾಯ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ವಾಟರ್, ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಅದರ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಫಾಡರ್? ಸಾರಿ, ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಫೈಬರ್? ನೂಲು, ಬಟ್ಟೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಕಾಟನ್, ಜೂಟ್, silk. People make sarees from bamboo fiber then they make it from banana leaves. Okay, so there are some cloths which are made up of these fibers. Adrinda fiber extract ಮಾಡಿ they will prepare these cloths. So that is 5Fs, provision of 5F. Then provision for shelter and building materials. because there is biodiversity, we'll get different kind of building materials. We get timber, alva? So timber ille nodi ee room allene how many things are made up of wood? Podium is made up of wood. That thing which you are keeping your book is made up of wood. Doors are made up of wood. There are different. That's not wood. There's POP. Okay, plaster of Paris. POP in the more question kididare. One of the state prelims. Okay, what is the chemical name of POP? Okay, I'll show you. I'll show you. Will not miss anything. Okay, wood no ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So teak ಇದೆ, rosewood ಇದೆ. There are some very simple wood. Okay, neem wood. Plywoods are there. These are made up of veneers. So because there is diversity in the tree species, we get different kind of timber material. And because there are different kinds of trees, certain organisms dwell on them. So because of variety of trees, there are some squirrels, ants, termites, arboreal animals, monkeys. They live in different things. We have fruit trees. That's why they survive. They live on that fruit tree. So they provide shelter to organisms. They provide shelter to humans. Nerulu, in terms of this, there are so many benefits which we get from biodiversity in terms of shelter and building material. Okay. Then they help in purification of air and water. How do plants purify air? Yeah, one is like it absorbs carbon dioxide through photosynthesis, reduce the amount of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a pollutant. Okay, so its presence will increase the temperature, and it is also a causes dizziness and others. Tumba jasti carbon dioxide idre it is considered as pollutant. Then there are some plants which absorb the suspended particulate matter in the air. They act as a filter. They'll make so many floating objects stick to them. So ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರಬಹುದು ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಮರಗಳು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದಾವೋ ಆ ಏರಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ environment clean ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. You don't find much pollution. Okay, they'll stop pollutants. There are some aquatic plants which actually absorb the heavy metals from the water. They clean the water. They are used in water purification systems. Okay, their presence will decrease the amount of particles in the water. They keep the water clean. So they help in purification of air and water. Even land. ಕೆಲವು plants, say for example, cauliflower and cabbage. Gobi. Nidirala, gobi Manchurian ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ. So the same gobi, it has a capacity to absorb a lot of heavy metals. Mercury, lead, zinc ಅವನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ absorb ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳುತ್ತೆ. So there was a report, an article in the newspaper which I read. Illi we don't have that problem because our rivers are not that polluted. Okay, they are not that much polluted. Don't see the example of this Netravati Nadi. Okay, even today morning, I was going that side. University ಇಲ್ಲ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನೇತ್ರಾವತಿ ನದಿ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹರಿತಿರೋದು. ನೇತ್ರಾವತಿ ಅದರದೇ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್. ಸೊ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಸಿ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೈಲಿ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಟೆಡ್, ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈ ಹೊಸಕೆರೆ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ಡ್. ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದನೇ ಶುರು ಆಗಿದ್ದು, ನದಿ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಹಿಮ ಬೀಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲ. ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಸ್ನೋ ಫಾಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಲೇಕ್ ಇನ್ ದ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಂತ. ಹತ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ದಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಫುಲ್ಲಿ ಫೋಮ್. ಈ ಸೀವೇಜ್ ವಾಟರಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರೋ ಡಿಟರ್ಜೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅವು ಫೋಮ್ ಆಗಿ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಬಿಗ್ ಫೋಮ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಟ್ರೀ. ನೊರೆ ಥರ ಬಂದು ಅದು ಸ್ನೋಫಾಲ್ ಥರ ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಎಲ್ಲ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರು, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ನೋಫಾಲ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಹೈಲಿ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಟೆಡ್ ವಾಟರ್. ಜ್ಞಾಪನ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅದು? ದೇರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಫೋಮ್ ಥರ ಬಂದಿರೋದು ನೋಡಿದ್ರಾ? ನೋಡಿಲ್ವಾ? ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ನೀವು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ don't know what's going on. Okay. ಅನಿಸ್ತಿಲ್ವಾ? ಒಂಥರ ಹಿಮ ಬಿದ್ದಂಗೆ. Bangalore's lake of toxic foam in pictures. DPS ಬಟ್ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದು K15 ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ನಂಬರು, ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದೇ ಬಸ್ಸು. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲು. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಲೇಕ್ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಜನ ಆಟಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಬಿದ್ದಾಗ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ನೋಡಿ ನಿಜವೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಇದಾಗಿರೋದು. ಇದು ದಿಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಬಿಗ್ ನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಬೆಳಂದೂರು ಲೇಕ್ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಇದೊಂದೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ತುಂಬ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಬಹಳ ಲೇಕ್ಗಳು ಈ ಥರ ಆಗಿದ್ವು. ಬೆಳಂದೂರು ಲೇಕ್, ಇದು ಬೆಳಂದೂರು ಲೇಕ್ದು ಫುಲ್ ಫ್ರಾತ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್. ಸೊ ಬಟ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಟಾಕ್ಸಿಕ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಹೌ ಮಚ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿ. ಡೆಲ್ಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಯಮುನಾ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಯಮುನಾ ಅಕ್ಕಪಕ್ಕ ಇರೋದು ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್, ಅಂದರೆ ಬಿಲಾಂಗ್ಸ್ ಟು ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಬಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಖಾಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ದೇ ಗ್ರೋ ಕ್ರಾಪ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೇ ಮೇನ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೋ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲಿಫ್ಲವರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾಬೇಜ್. ನಾನು ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಓದಿದ್ದು ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲೇ ಯಮುನಾ ರಿವರಿಂದ ನೀರು ತಗೊಂಡು ಇರಿಗೇಟ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ಕಂಟೈನ್ಸ್ ಹೆವಿ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಹೆವಿ ಮೆಟಲ್ಸ್, ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಆ ನೀರಿಂದ ಇರಿಗೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ that cauliflower and cabbage will start absorbing heavy metals from that water, irrigated water. And what exactly comes to the market is a bowl full of heavy metals. Kidney ಎಲ್ಲ failure ಆಗೋಗುತ್ತೆ, lot of health problems. See how many sick people hospital ಹೋಗಿ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಬೆಡ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಸಿಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. India is becoming continuously the hub of illness, health problems, impotency. So many problems are popping up. India was not like that. Okay, because of food habits, because of street food, because of refined oil, because of excessive use of sugar and pollution. Okay, so that's why it is observed that tarkarina ತಿನ್ನೋದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಮಾಡೋದು. You should ask which source there. Okay, anyways, that way some plants they are used for control of pollutants. Okay, that's the thing. Then detoxification and decomposition of waste. When organic materials or any dead matter, organic matter is added to the soil, they'll start getting decomposed, and in some places they get detoxified. there is a special branch of environment called as bioremediation, using biological organisms to find remedies for environmental problems, mainly waste management. Pollution control ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ, for water pollution we are using oysters, pearl oyster. ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತದು? What is the feeding mechanism of pearl oyster? Filter feeding, clean ಮಾಡಾಗುತ್ತೆ. We are using various microorganisms to control the pollution of water. We are using virus to control the growth of bad bacteria. Okay. So we are using living organisms to do that. We are using various organisms to decompose. Now compost prepare ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ we'll load the microorganisms. We'll pump in more microorganisms so that decompose happen at a faster rate. This is possible only because of biodiversity. ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದಿದ್ರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಥರದ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಸು ಸಿಗ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಥರ ವರ್ಮ್ಸು ಸಿಗ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಫಾರ್ ಡಿಕಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್. We wouldn't have got various kinds of organisms which perform various kinds of actions to control the pollution, to detoxify the waste, to decompose the waste organic matter, convert them into simple minerals. Example, Bacillus, Streptomyces, Nitrosomonas, Nitrobacter. ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಎಲ್ಲ? They are turning organic matter complex form into simple form. They are detoxifying, decomposing. ಆ ಡಿಕಂಪೋಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಎಂಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಸಿಗೋದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ನೈಟ್ರೇಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ನೈಟ್ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಮಿನರಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅಂತೀವಲ್ಲ. ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ some 15-20 years back we studied something called mineralization. ಮರ್ತೋಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ನಿಮಗೆ. ಜ್ಞಾಪನ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಮಿನರಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಜ್ಞಾಪನ ಇದೆಯಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ? ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್? Yes, nitrogen cycle. Okay, so detoxification and decomposition of waste, then stabilization of Earth's climate, stabilization and moderation. Okay, ಹೇಗೆ? Because there is biodiversity, there are different kind of trees with different canopies. They will not let the terrestrial radiations to fall on Earth, keeping the temperature cool. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೋ, if you go to some places, you go to the university, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತಂಪು ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ, because there are a lot of trees. Get into GKVK, temperature will be 1 or 2 degrees lower because of excessive trees. They will moderate the temperature, they will moderate the climate. ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಮರಗಳು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆಯೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಎವಾಪರೇಷನ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ಲೌಡ್ಸ್, ಮೋರ್ ರೈನ್ಫಾಲ್. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ವೆಜಿಟೇಷನ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲೌಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಡೆಸರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್, because of different varieties, different biodiversity, there are different organisms which control the climate. Because there is diversity of plants, we have something called as aquatic plants, phytoplanktons. Because of phytoplanktons, there is production of dimethyl sulfide, DMS, and because of dimethyl sulfide, cloud formation happens. ತುಂಬಾ ತರದ್ದು ಕ್ಲೈಮ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ನ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Okay, one thing. Moderation of floods, droughts. Okay, so floods flood is basically a high excessive amount of water flowing in the areas where they are not supposed to drain. ಸಿಟಿ ಒಳಗೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. So plants and trees acts as a barrier, physical barrier for them to pass on. They'll reduce their velocity. Okay, so slope can always be stabilized because of the presence of trees. The roots of the trees will hold them, and this water will be absorbed as a sponge because of the plant growth. Okay, so they will control the floods, they will even control droughts, they will hold the moisture, they will absorb the moisture from deeper layers. Okay, so they will reduce the impact of droughts. They'll control temperature extremes, and forces of wind. If wind ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ, we will plant trees continuously. ಲೈನ್ ಆಗಿ ಉದ್ದ ಟ್ರೀಸ್ನ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಮ್ಮ ತೋಟದ ಬಾರ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಏನಕ್ಕೆ? To reduce the impact of high velocity winds. Wind causes erosion, wind causes dryness, wind will cause losing of moisture. So there are so many things the wind does. ಅದನ್ನ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ we have different varieties of plants. Biodiversity ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಇರೋದು. And what if that species was only this much height? We couldn't use it for shelter belts, wind breaks ಮತ್ತೆ shelter belts ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಆ ಥರ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. Because of biodiversity, there are some tall trees, there are some lenient trees, there are some fast growing species which can be grown and controlled for water. Okay. Then generation and renewal of soil, fertility, and recycling, nutrients recycling. It is because of the biodiversity there are different kinds of bacteria, fungus, which helps in various kinds of cycles. If there is only one kind of animal, then the food chain wouldn't have been possible. Food web ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ we need different kinds of animal species, and that is how they recycle the nutrients. What about generation and renewal of soil fertility? Soil fertility renewal ಗೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? The microorganism should convert the organic matter into humus. ಅದರಿಂದ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಯೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಡಿಕಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್. Generation, how soil is formed? Soil process, soil formation process ಯಾವುದರಿಂದ ಶುರು ಆಗುತ್ತೆ? ಹೇಗೆ? Weathering of rocks. Who does it? Though so many agents. Is there any biological agent which does it? Exactly. Lichens, pioneers. ಓದಿದ್ವಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ? ರಾಕ್ಸ್ ನ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬರುವಂತ ಆರ್ಗಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ ಯಾವು? ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್. ಅಂಡ್ ವೈ ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ಲೈಕನ್ ಇಸ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ. ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ತರ ಫಂಗಸ್, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ತರ ಆಲ್ಗೇಸ್ ಇದೆ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ರೀಸನ್ ವೈ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದಿಸ್ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್, ಸಿಂಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್. ಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾಟ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್. ದೇ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಇನ್ ಪಾಲಿನೇಷನ್. ಹೌದಾ? Because there are variety in insects, different insects pollinate different flowers. Honeybees will pollinate some of the plants, butterflies will pollinate. Diversity ne illa onde tarada insect andre. What if there is no diversity? There is only mosquitoes. Okay, obviously ಏನು ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. There is no pollination happening. ಪಾಲಿನೇಷನ್ ಯಾವಾಗ ನಿಂತೋಗುತ್ತೋ ಅದರಿಂದ ಮನುಷ್ಯನಿಗೆ 50 ವರ್ಷ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಇರೋದು. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ 50 years more for humans to survive. The day honeybees get extinct, humans can survive only for next 50 years. He cannot survive. That's a prediction. Okay, so they are very, very important, and there are various flowers and various insects which are responsible for pollination process. Pollination agdidre nimge yield sigalla. You don't get grains. Neevenu beliyake agalla. Okay. Then control of pests and diseases. Pests and diseases. ಕೆಲವು ಪೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮತ್ತು ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು living organisms ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. And because there is diversity, there is different kinds of these organisms. Say virus ಅಲ್ಲಿ diversity ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದನೇ we have something called as bacteriophage. Bacteriophage is one such kind of virus which kills the bacteria. This was also a question. Okay, UPSC bacteriophage. Easily, because of Kumbh Mela, bacteriophage is very much in news. Okay, so be careful with that word. All right. Because we have the organisms which infect on insects, we culture them in laboratory and we will release them. Example, there is something called as nuclear polyhedrosis virus. Adu tumba crop pest ಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ attack ಮಾಡಿ will cause harm. Okay, there is one ladybird beetle. It eats up so many enemies of forest. So we do have so much of varieties of organisms that one organism can be used for control of another dangerous organism. Okay, to control pests and diseases. Manel ಬೆಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಸಾಕ್ತೀರಾ? Don't say ಮುದ್ದು ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಡಿಯಕ್ಕ. Honestly, ಬೆಕ್ಕೇನಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಕೋದು? ಬೆಕ್ಕಿದೆ ಯಾರ ಮನೆಯವರು? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಡಿಯಕ್ಕ ಸಾಕಿರ? ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ತಿನ್ನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಸಾಕಿರೋದ? I'm sorry if there are any cat lovers. Cat is most annoying pet. ನೀವು ಏನೇ ಹೆಸರಿಡಿ, ಯಾವುದೇ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೀರಿ, they will never turn back. Dog ಎಷ್ಟು ಲಾಯಲ್. Dog is the most wonderful animal, the real friend of humans. ಒಂದ್ಸರಿ ಹೆಸರಿಟ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ನೀವಲ್ಲ ಯಾರು ಹೆಸರು ಕರೀಲಿ, it will look back and ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಓಡೋಗುತ್ತೆ. They will be so loyal. ನೀವು ಬರೋದನ್ನೇ ಕಾಯ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಬಾಲ ಹಿಮ. ಬೆಕ್ಕು ಎಷ್ಟು ದಿಮಾಕ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನೀವು ಏನು ಹೆಸರಿಟ್ರೆ ಏನೇ ಕರೆದ್ರೂ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ನೆವರ್ ಟರ್ನ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. ಓಕೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಕರೆದ್ರಂತೂ ಬರೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ತಿರುಗಿ ನೋಡೋದು ಇಲ್ಲ. ಕರೆದ್ರೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕುತ್ಕೊ ಅಂತ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಬಿ ಲುಕಿಂಗ್ ಎಟ್ ಯು. ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಗುರಾಯಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಮಾಡಿ. ಕ್ಯಾಟ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎನ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಂಕ್ಟ್. ವೆನ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಐ ಹರ್ಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಂತ ಈಗ ಎಷ್ಟೇ ಹಾಲಾಕಿ ಎಷ್ಟೇ ಇದು ಮಾಡಿ, ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಬಿ ವೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಅದನ್ನು ಇರಿಟೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಬೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಯು. ಹೌದಾ, ಹೊಡ್ಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ anyways, I'm live on camera. Your animal lovers will start coming and protesting, ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ. Okay, why are you talking about cats ಅಂತ? If you love cats, then go. Cat is good animal. Okay, then maintenance of genetic resources. Of genetic resource. What is genetic resource? There are so many types of parental varieties or parental lines. ಅದರಿಂದನೇ ನಾವು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಥರ varieties na cross ಮಾಡಿ we can produce hybrids. Okay, it's only because of this genetic pool or different kinds of genetic variation within a species we are able to produce different kinds of hybrids. Say for example, wheat hybrid na produce ಮಾಡಿ ಇಂಡಿಯಾಕ್ಕೆ ತಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ green revolution ಶುರು ಆಗಿದೆ. Okay, so who is the father of green revolution? This is when I get hurt. Okay, it's Norman Borlaug. ಕೆಲವರು father of green revolution in India ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. MS Swaminathan. Be specific to Make India if you are writing that. But generally around the world, the father of green revolution is Norman Borlaug. Okay. He got a Nobel Prize for peace. Kotata. He is a Nobel laureate. Our Nobel Prize ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬರೆದಿರೋದು, he is the man responsible for saving maximum number of human beings from hunger. He is a breeder, he is a plant breeder, he is a wheat breeder. ಅವರು ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಿರೋ ಹೈಬ್ರಿಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ವೀಟ್, ಅದರಿಂದನೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ರೆವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಶುರುವಾಗಿದ್ದು. ವಿ ಆರ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಬಿಕಮ್ ಸಸ್ಟೈನ್ಸ್, ನಾಟ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ, ಅಕ್ರಾಸ್ ದ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್. ಡ್ವಾರ್ಫ್ ವೆರೈಟೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ವೀಟ್, ಅದರಿಂದನೇ ದ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ವಾಸ್ ಸೇವ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಹಂಗರ್. ಫುಡ್ ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ ಎಷ್ಟಿತ್ತು ಅಂದರೆ ಪೀಪಲ್ ವೇರ್ ಲಿಟರಲಿ ಡೈಯಿಂಗ್ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಹಂಗರ್. Now we have food security. We are sufficient to grow our own food and we are even able to export. Esto nam wheat export agutte. Sihor, Sharbati, Gehu, they all export varieties. Okay, munche hangirlilla. Before Green Revolution it was not there. Of course, Green Revolution has some disadvantage, but it also has a lot of advantages. So Norman Borlaugಗೆ ಆ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ಗೆ ಫಾರ್ ಸೇವಿಂಗ್ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ dying. So he has been given Nobel Prize. And few good things why it hurts a lot when people don't take his name is because he is from the same university. He was a Cornellian. He studied in the same university, same college, College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, in which I studied, and same department. He also belonged to Department of Plant Breeding and Genetics. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ತುಂಬಾ ಹತ್ತಿರದ ರಿಲೇಶನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ he has guided only one person in his entire career. Mostly he used to be on research, but for PhD he was a guide of a person called Ronnie Kaufman. Ronnie Kaufman ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಬ್ರು ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ನ ಇವರು PhD ಗೆ ಗೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು. And Ronnie Kaufman was my guide. Okay, so Norman Borlaug passed away when I was in US. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ದಿನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಲ್ಯಾಬ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು we came and we mourned his death. Okay, so 2009-10 ಆ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ, right? So Norman Borlaug is the father of Green Revolution. So that was possible only because of parental lines. ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ we have different genetic lines, parental lines. We are able to cross and produce hybrids. Hybrid ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತು ತಾನೆ? Hybrid या heterosis ಅಂದ್ರೆ what is hybridization? What is a hybrid? Hybrid ಅಂದ್ರೆ yield increase. Okay, one simple diagram ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. After that you will never forget what is hybrid. Okay, WWE ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೀರಾ? WWF WW ಏನದು ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಿಂದ ಯಾರು ಇದಾರ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಹೂ ವಾಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ WW ನಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಸ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ದ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಖಲಿ ಗೊತ್ತು ತಾನೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಏನೋ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಖಲಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ವಾ ಗೂಗಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಖಲಿ 7 feet 6 point something 7ಗಿಂತ ಮೇಲಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಸೊ this is great khali okay ರಪ್ಪಮ್ಮನ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ this is Khali's father this is Khali's mother but this is hybridization okay so when the offsprings perform better than their parents that is what is hybridization that is a hybrid when do you call a hybrid ಈಗ ಒಂದು plant variety maybe say for example 100 kg 100 kgs per hectare yield ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವೆರೈಟಿ 120 kg ಒಂದು ಹೆಕ್ಟೇರ್ಗೆ yield ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ when you cross them ಅದರಿಂದ ಬರೋ ಸೀಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೀವು ಸೋ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ you'll get 200 kgs per hectare that's a hybrid ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ನ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಒಂದು 1000 ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ you might get one such combination which produces that kind of hybrid ಆ ಒಂದು ಹೊಸ ಜೀನ್ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ which is a special trait special gene special character which the parents doesn't have ಆ ಜೀನ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದು how did that gene got developed in the DNA see chiasmatic crossing over shuffling okay ಆ process ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಸ ಜೀನ್ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ you'll understand all these things when you study the basics of biology okay but don't worry you know hybrid production ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ನಮಗೆ biodiversity ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು okay cultural and aesthetic benefits cultural and aesthetic benefits ಹೇಗೆ cultural benefits we have different kinds of trees biodiversity ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದನೇ we have tulsi we have neem we have banyan we have people we have so many cultural relationship with those trees and ಮೊನ್ನೆ ಬಿಷ್ಣೋಯ್ tribe ಹೇಳಿದೆ they worship a tree called Kejli tree in Hinduism people worship trees like tulsi banyan in Buddhism people worship trees like bodhi vriksha scientific name ಏನು which is the national tree of India scientific name Buddha got salvation under bodhi vriksha it is religiously very significant ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದರ ಹೆಸರು Ficus religiosa is the name of people tree bodhi vriksha scientific name ficus common name religiosa if you remember religion you can associate bodhi vriksha with it ನಮ್ಮ banyan tree is originated from Bengal ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇದು Ficus bengaliensis that is the scientific name so at least national animal national bird national you know tree ಇಂಥವಕ್ಕಾರು scientific name ಜ್ಞಾಪನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರಿ it's important especially from the interview point of interview ನಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು national animal ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ okay so that is the thing right cultural benefits aesthetic ನೀವು ಪಾರ್ಕ್ ಹೋಗ್ತೀರಾ Would you like to see only one variety of tree or plant growing, or you want different colors of trees, different fruit trees, trees with different colored flowers? ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ? You'll feel refreshed. You'll get recreational values because of this. Okay, aesthetic benefits ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ಕತ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ವಾ? Okay, and direct economic benefits. Direct economic benefits. ಕೆಲವರು, like we have different kinds of things which we get from biodiversity. ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ತರದ ಮೀನು ಇರುತ್ತೆ. People directly capture and sell them. Blue economy. ಬಾಂಗ್ಡೆ ಮೀನಿಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ರೇಟು, ಸಾಲ್ಮನ್ ಫಿಶ್ ಬೇರೆ ರೇಟು, ಎಂಜಲು ಇನ್ನೇನೇನು ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಏನೇನು ಇರ್ತಾವಲ್ಲ, ವೆರೈಟಿ, ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ, ಗೆಟ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಮರಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ರೇಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಸೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ಗೆ, ಪಲ್ಸಸ್ಗೆ, ಆಯಿಲ್ ಸೀಡ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ರೇಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಈವನ್ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್ಸ್, ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್ಸ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್. ಗುಚ್ಚಿ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್ ಇದೆ, ಗುಚ್ಚಿ ಕೇಳಿದಿರಾ? GUCCI. ಹಾಂ, 2022 Prelims. ಬರೀ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡಲ್ಲೇ ಇರಿ ನೀವು. ಏನಿದು UPSC ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 22ನೇ ಸಾಲಿದ ಕ್ವಶನ್ with reference to Gucci, sometimes mentioned in news, consider the following: it is a fungus. ಇಲ್ಲ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್. Commercially cultivated, it is in Himalayan forest areas, commercially cultivated in Himalayan foothills of northeastern India. Okay, trust your teacher. And I ask you and expect you, because I have made you to analyze the PYQs. ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಒಂದು 50 ವರ್ಷದ 60 ವರ್ಷದ ಹಿಂದೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? 40-50 years ಮರ್ತೋಗಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ. ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಗುಚ್ಚಿ ಕೇಳೇ ಇಲ್ವಾ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ? ಹಂಗಾರೆ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ನೀವು, ಯು ನಾಟ್ ಡನ್ ದ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಬಟ್ ಯಾರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಪೇಪರ್, ನೋಡಿರ್ತೀರಾ. ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅನಲೈಸ್ಡ್. ಗುಚ್ಚಿ, ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ಲಿಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಶ್ರೂಮ್ ಇನ್ ದ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್. ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಫಂಗಸ್ಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿಸ್. ಇವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರಾ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ? ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ವಿ ಗೆಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ವಿ ಗೆಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ. ಸೊ ಈ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ? ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು, ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಒಂದೊಂದಾಗಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸೊ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಪುಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ ದೀಸ್ ಹೆಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ಇದೇ ಕ್ವಶನ್ನ ಈ ಥರ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರೆಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿ. ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಡಿವೈಡ್ ದಮ್ ಇಂಟು ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್. How can we get the question from this in terms of thing? See, try to put it in ecological, life support, recreation, cultural, scientific, economic and all. Okay, so these are the different headings you can use. 2011 prelims alli there was a question. Biodiversity forms the basis for human existence in the following ways. Human existence goskara biodiversity forms the basis. Hangandreno, they are asking about values of biodiversity. Hey, how human exist agake, how biodiversity is helping. Options ಏನು? Soil formation, biodiversity help ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ? Soil formation process, yes. Prevention of soil erosion, okay, benefit ಅಲ್ಲಿ add ಮಾಡಿ ಇದನ್ನು. Prevention of soil erosion. How? Because there are diversity, there are different kinds of plants growing on soil. Soil na cover madutte. They will act as a complete, mat on the soil, which prevents the erosion of soil. Recycling of waste. Madata. Pollination of crops. What is the option? The option is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a UPSC PYQ. Okay. Direct question keltare values. They have asked. All right. Write down this question. So basically, biodiversity today faces a threat of unprecedented scales. Briefly discuss the various factors that causes threat to biodiversity. So they are giving the statement that at present in the today's world, biodiversity is facing a threat. See, we have known that biodiversity had value to human beings. Estone values kodutte. It is having too much of, it adds so much of basis for human existence. Astu value irbekadre, at the same time, we are saying that different ecosystems on different levels of biodiversity are facing different levels of threat. And statement is given that they are facing the threats. Enen threats ide. Aita? Done. Biodiversity under threat. Okay. Next heading. What are the major reasons for threat to biodiversity? There are various factors which are either directly or indirectly caused by human beings. It's the humans which are actually threat to biodiversity. Humans illa andre threat irtirilla. Nature has its own equilibrium. They will manage. They know the nature can see how to manage the population, how to prevent overconsumption, how to maintain sustainably, how to renew. They are all a part of nature. Nature is surviving since time even when humans did not exist. Humans in the ಏನಾಗ್ತಿದೆ because of human beings, different biodiversity or different ecosystems are under different levels of threats. Okay, so we'll see that. Write a small heading on this. Because of variety of factors, in bracket directly or indirectly, close the bracket, caused by human beings, biodiversity today faces a threat of unprecedented scales. Unprecedented scales. So most of the ecosystems are at different level of degradation. Different level of degradation. Okay. Most of the ecosystems are at different level of degradation. Right. Now we'll try to see the threats. Before that, try to answer. See, ಮುಂಚೆಯಿಂದನೇ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಇಷ್ಟವರೆಗೂ ನಾವು ಎಷ್ಟು one side ಅಲ್ಲಿ keep noting down the number of questions. ಈಗ already UPSC in the we have seen from biodiversity they have asked, we have solved 2 questions na PYQs. This is the third question. 2 na 3 na ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ? Prelims. Third one la. Last ವರ್ಗು just count the number of questions, then you will know how important biodiversity is from the examination point of view. Either 2011 in the question ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು. This is 2012. Which of the following can be threats to biodiversity of a geographical area? Simple question. On the geographical area dalli biodiversity ge threat na koduvanta factors yavu? Global warming, fragmentation of habitat, invasion of alien species, promotion of vegetarianism. Select the correct answer using the quotes given below. Global warming, fragmentation of habitats, invasion of alien species, and promotion of vegetarianism. Who says A? Full kay etbeku. Okay. B. Yadu A na? B. C. D. Okay. All right. So we have mixed answers. Some says again. Who says A? Okay. B. B and C yaviಲ್ಲ. D. All the 4. Okay. Fine. Please explain 1, 2, 3. Fine. Global warming ಆದರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಸ್ಪೀಷೀಸ್ ಯಾವುದು ಅಡಾಪ್ಟ್ ಆಗಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ವೋ they will die. Fragmentation of habitats fragmentation ಆದರೆ they will lose the continuity. They'll there'll be breaking of corridors through which the wild animals will travel. Alien species ಬಂದ್ರೆ they will replace the local varieties, they will invade and they will occupy the entire space. Mooru okay, but the only difference is some people think promotion of vegetarianism is a cause of biodiversity degradation, something it is not. Why did you leave? Some people tell me. What is your justification? Promotion of vegetarianism. ನೀವು ಯಾಕೆ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ? If you promote vegetarianism, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? Okay, we'll start growing more vegetables. ಯಾವ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೆಯಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತೀರಾ ನೀವು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದನ್ನ ತೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳಿತೀರಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಕಾಡಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳಿತೀರಾ? You grow if it is domestic ecosystem is different from natural ecosystems. Okay. Promotion of vegetarianism. See, be very careful. You are promoting, not necessary that all the non-vegetarians will be converted into vegetarians. So you are just promoting. Promoting ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತಾ? ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೋಣ. We'll imagine that people got converted. If lot of non-vegetarians became vegetarian, you'll grow more crops, you'll grow yielding varieties. ಈಗ ನಾವು non-vegetarians ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ we are not going to the forest and killing the diversity. We are actually growing our food. Koli farm, kuri farm. We are domesticating animals. We are having different thing outside the nature where we fulfill the non-vegetarian food needs. Okay, so conversion of vegetarian, lot of all the vegetarians to non-vegetarians, non-vegetarians to vegetarians, ಅಂದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಬಹುದಿತ್ತು. It is just the word. ಪ್ರಮೋಷನ್ ಈಗಲೂ ನಡೀತಾನೆ ಇದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಾಂದ್ರೆ people ask you to non-veg ಬಿಡಿ. See, we have one victim here. ಬಿಡಿಸಿದ್ರಾ ಯಾರಾದ್ರು? ಅಲ್ವಾ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ? Okay. See, these are the tricky questions. The answer is this. Okay. So 1, 2 and 3. ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸರಿ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿ. Which of the following most directly relate to the current biodiversity crisis? The state prelims question. Biodiversity crisis ke see, increased carbon dioxide, ozone depletion, rate of extinction, introduced species, ಇದರಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲದರಿಂದನೂ ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಕ್ರೈಸಿಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು? Who says A? Okay. B? C? D? Okay. A ಹೇಳಿ. How? Explain. Those who raised hands for A. ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್? ಇದರಿಂದ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲ್ ವಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ಲೈಮೇಟ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟಿಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೀಸೀಸ್ ಕಾಸಿಂಗ್ ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಕ್ರೈಸಿಸ್. ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್, ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇದು ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಂಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿನಾ? ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ ಇಂಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್? ಇಂಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ತಾನೆ. ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ರೈಸ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಕ್ರೈಸಿಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಅಗ್ರಿ? ಯಾರು ಹೂ ರೇಸ್ಡ್ ಯುವರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಓಝೋನ್ ಡಿಪ್ಲೀಷನ್? ಓಕೆ, ಹೇಗೆ? ಓಝೋನ್ ಡಿಪ್ಲೀಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಓಝೋನ್ ಡಿಪ್ಲೀಷನ್ ಆದರೆ ಅಲ್ಟ್ರಾವೈಲೆಟ್ ರೇಸ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಸನ್ನಿಂದ ಅರ್ಥಿಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಓಝೋನ್ ಡಿಪ್ಲೀಷನ್ ಆದರೆ UV rays will directly come. UVC radiations most dangerous ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅದು ಬಂದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ಬರ್ನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಬರ್ನ್ ಆದರೆ ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಕ್ರೈಸಿಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸ್ಕಿನ್ ಡಿಸೀಸ್. ಇಟ್ ಕಿಲ್ಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಸ್. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಜರ್ಮಿಸೈಡಲ್ ರೇ. ಇಟ್ ಕಿಲ್ಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಸ್. ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಸ್ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆದರೆ ಆಲ್ ದ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಫ್ starting from decomposition to conversion of your milk to curd, a lot of things. Okay, idli better agala because of bacteria. Your gut will be unhealthy. So a lot of things can happen, and so that the animals might die slowly. Idu direct, huh? It's also not direct, indirect. Rate of extinction. ಎಷ್ಟು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟಿಂಕ್ಷನ್ ರೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಕ್ರೈಸಿಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ರೀಸನ್. ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್, ಇಫ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಇಫ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಏಲಿಯನ್ ಡಸಂಟ್ ಮೀನ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ವೇಸಿವ್. ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಏಲಿಯನ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಆರ್ ನಾನ್ ಇನ್ವೇಸಿವ್. ಪಪಾಯ ಏಲಿಯನ್, ನಾನ್ ಇನ್ವೇಸಿವ್. ಟೊಮೆಟೊ ಏಲಿಯನ್, ನಾನ್ ಇನ್ವೇಸಿವ್. ಪೊಟ್ಯಾಟೊ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆಲೂಗಡ್ಡೆನೂ ನಮ್ದಲ್ಲ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಏಲಿಯನ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ brought from Europe. They are all alien but friendly species. Superman. PK, okay, Thor, Jadu, okay, there are friendly aliens, but there are alien invasive species which when introduced might become invasive, like eucalyptus, Thanos, okay. So it's also not direct. They might replace the local varieties and do that. So this is the thing, right? This is a question which I framed. Let me see if I am able to fool you or not. The term the evil quartet is sometimes seen in news. It is four major invasive species responsible for biodiversity loss, four bad stages of present era that leads to species extinction, extinction of four major animal species from planet Earth, four main reasons for loss of biodiversity. Who says A? What do you think? B? Okay, C? D? Okay. The term evil quartet is related to four major causes of forest loss, population explosion, air pollution, and okay. So biodiversity loss. So idike reason what is evil quartet? So at least I was able to fool you guys. Some of you. Yeah. So four bad stages of present era leads to species extinction. Four era there are like that's a different concept called mass extinction, which we will study as one of the evil quartet. Okay. So tomorrow we will continue from here. I'll continue with this evil quartet. What is evil quartet, and what are this is AI generated. I asked AI to generate me a diagram of evil quartet, and this is what it gave. I don't know what it understood. Anyways, forget about it. We'll study it. Tomorrow we'll continue with evil quartets. Try to read something about evil quartet before you come, and we'll see. All right. See you tomorrow.